So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 258th episode. In the last 257 episodes, we have talked to, interacted with more than 5,000 school leaders on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovation, and what all new are they doing in the education space. Today, we are going to talk about a superbly interesting topic which is now impacting the lives of teenagers, schools, universities, everyone in a very similar fashion, which is typically teen employment. A lot of teenagers now from school life itself try to find out internships, try to go into observerships. They want to get employed, they want to get paid, they want to make money as early as possible. So, is it good? Is it bad? That is something that we'll discuss. And more importantly, we'll discuss what kind of workplace rights do these teenagers have, because they don't come in the formal workforce or the labor force of any country. So some of the countries might have regulation on it, some of the countries might not have regulation on it. So what are the thoughts of school leaders, university leaders, and teenagers themselves on this? Because now when you want to grow up early, when you want to become an adult early, take up responsibilities, get into employment, this is something that must be discussed and something that becomes superbly critical. Teen employment, know your workplace rights. I would request the speakers to initially also talk a little bit about the impact of teen employment and getting early into employment. What are the impacts of it? What kind of regulation is required? So to start with, let's start with somebody who understands it from the perspective of higher education, because they're the people who handle the transition of children, getting out of school and getting into university, children transforming from passive learners to active learners. In school, children learn because they're supposed to. In university, they learn because they have to make money. So what does the higher education, leaders have a perspective on it? Let me invite the first speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Professor Agyapong-Kodua, the Vice Chancellor for Pentecost University, Sowutuom, Accra, Ghana. I hope I pronounced all of that right. If I did not, please do correct me. A very warm welcome to you. Please unmute yourself. The next 3 minutes are yours.
Pentecost University is situated in Ghana, but with global presence, especially in the UK, US, South Africa, La Côte d'Ivoire, that's Ivory Coast, and some parts of Asia. It's both a privilege and a profound responsibility to speak to you today on a topic that cuts across cultures, economies, and generations. That is the rights of teenagers at the workplace, captioned as teen employment. Know your workplace rights. As an institution, we are keen on academic excellence and social responsibility and take pride in nurturing the next generation of leaders. Pentecost University continuously champions the rights and well-being of our young people in all spheres, whether in the sciences, technology, engineering, business, law, health, theology, and the humanities. The prime focus is to prepare the younger generation well for the workplace, so you can imagine that teens' employment and their treatment at the workplace is crucial for our delivery. As we champion innovation in education and speak boldly about future-ready skills, we also look closely at the world of our young people and the world they are stepping in. What kind of workplaces are they inheriting? What kind of protections are we ensuring? What kind of messages are we sending about their wealth? Labor laws differ from nation to nation. The International Labor Law Convention 138 states the minimum age for general employment as at least 15 years. Across most countries, legal frameworks exist to shield young workers from exploitation. This includes limits on working hours, particularly during the school term, to ensure that employment does not come at the cost of education. After all, a job should build their future, not burden it. There are also clear restrictions on hazardous labor, which should be considered. To those of us in positions of influence, educators, administrators, and all of us gathered here.
Thank you so much, Professor Kobi, for this amazing start to the conversation. I'll come back to you during the open floor. Some very important points that you made, that teenagers now, if you're getting into employment, try to understand what are you really putting at stake. Are you putting at stake your time? Are you putting at stake your dignity? Are you putting at stake your safety? Look at what is getting traded. What are you really giving in? If it is something that you feel is undue, that should not be a part of the conversation or that should not be a part of the transaction, make sure that you speak up. Because in most of the countries, we all know that we have put in child labor laws that, a child below the age of 13 cannot get into any kind of gainful employment. Or most importantly, we have to understand there are no regulations beyond that. Because till now, nobody really talked about teens getting into employment. But right now, They are, because there are opportunities that are not hazardous. There are opportunities which are safe. There are opportunities which are based on intellect. So teens now have opportunities to get employed, but most of the countries miss regulation or legislation to manage how a teen will typically be inducted into their workplace, because we have to remember that's their introduction to their professional life. So, how do we make it? It really depends on the adults, not on teenagers themselves. So, thank you so much, Professor Kobi, for the start of the conversation. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Abdulkadir Agboola, the founder of Platinum Billionaires Minds Free School from Abuja FCT, Nigeria. Abdulkadir, sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
So basically, all protocols really observed, and I want to also thank Prof for sharing inspiring moments. I was also learning along the way when he was talking. So, and I just want to briefly talk about my point on the topic before me. So, teens employment, know your workplace rights. And when we talk about teen employment, it's very, very important to note that a teenager is expected to be rightly and to have employment. A teenager is someone that could use his deft hand and spoil it into very gigantic innovations. When we talk about this type, the lives of these great men commanding results globally, most of them started at the tender age. And that is why it is so very important that beyond employment, beyond the fact that you need to come up with something very innovational, there must be a need as a teenager to know the values that the place you want to work exhibit. And you must also be aware that that place where you want to work is ready to promote and to nourish you, because as a teenager you still don't know a lot of things, so you need a platform that can help you thrive. You need to know the work ethic of the place you are employed. For example, I have a coding company that and I have a lot of teenagers that I employed. So what they do is to come online, teach people how to code, and they are making their money. So, but then before they come, because we are dealing with Gen Z generations, and so many of them want to do things in their own way. So most times I always like to sit them down and tell them, look, you need to know where you're working. You need to know the do's and the don'ts. And the moment this is done, then a teenager will grow and become an adult, a responsible adult in the next couple of years. So it is very, very important that anywhere a teenager is to work, the due diligence must be done, because there are some organizations that don't actually grow these teenagers. What they want to do is to make out their values and give them peanuts. The moment you know that the organization is not giving you time to pray, and you know that you are the kind of person that you cherish praying, no, you don't need to work in such an environment. So ability to know the values that an organization is giving is going to really go a long way, and it will help you shape your destiny and your future, and to also nourish that dream that is inside of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul Qadir. You're very right when you say that it's far more important to vet the organization where the teen is getting employed. Are we really judging the organization in the right way? Are they really making the teen grow? Because a lot of organizations come with the mentality where they just want to employ young blood, use them up, make money out of it, and then the growth does not happen of the individual who's employed. So, and the teenagers have to also understand that when you are getting early into employment, what's the focus? Is learning the focus? Is making money the focus? Are you getting there because you're getting there without choice? Then you have to most importantly understand, is your objective being met by the organization where you started working? Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Feama Usman, Mshelia, the principal of Future Progress Islamic Foundation, Maiduguri, Borno, Nigeria. Feama, sir, over to you. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
I would like to say I myself is an experience of someone who started working during a teenage age. So because of some personal issues. So I always support children starting work at a teen age. But what we need to focus is where do they work and how do they work. So teen employment is a way for youth to gain skills and financial independence, but it must be balanced with protection that ensure work is safety and does not affect their education or health. Worldwide, more than more than 1 in 5 children aged 5 to 17 are engaged in child labor. In sub-Saharan Africa, statistics have shown that an additional 16.6 million children are in child labor. In recent year, which is of course by the insecurity, conflict, or poverty. Globally, an estimated 160 million children aged 5 to 17 are in child labor, and many of those are hazardous. At the international level, ILO Convention number 138 established the minimum age for admission into employment, generally 15 years or 14 in some developing countries, while Convention number 182 targets the immediate elimination of the worst of labor.
The points that you made, that you yourself have been mentoring them, you've been putting your effort to mentor teens in the right direction. And in Nigeria and in other countries as well, when we even say that child right is prohibited, enforcement is a major problem. Even when there is legislation, people might get wrongfully employed. They might be even exploited. And specifically when teenagers or a younger person is involved in this complete ecosystem of employment, the rate of harassment, exploitation increases. So the reason why we had this conversation today, or we are having this conversation today, is to typically give teenagers an understanding into that when you want to get into gainful employment, study the ecosystem where you're going into. I would like to invite the next speaker for now. A very warm welcome to Ms. Juhi Singh, the principal of Bodhi Taru International School from Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh, India. Juhi ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you for giving this opportunity to talk on such an incredibly important topic, knowing the workplace rights of teenagers. So this isn't actually about just earning a paycheck. It's about ensuring a safe, fair, and respectful experience as the teenagers will gain valuable skills and independence. So teen employment can be exciting and empowering experience. It can offer you the chance to earn money, learn responsibility, develop new skills, and gain insights into the professional world, whether it's your first job of flipping the burgers, assisting at the local store, working as an intern, or even freelancing online. This experience can shape your future in profound ways. However, this excitement should be balanced with awareness. Just like in any other aspect of your life, knowing your rights as an employee is crucial. It actually protects you from unfair treatment and unfair conditions and potential exploitation. So, what actually it means when we talk about knowing your workplace rights? It is the understanding of the basic rules and regulations that govern the employment of the teens. Here are some key areas which a teen should be aware of. That is minimum wages. Like in India, the minimum wage acts as the minimum amount an employer must pay to the teens at their workplace. So the teens should never be afraid to ask their employers about their wages and ensure it complies with the laws. Next is the working hours. Now, there are restrictions on the working hours and times of day that individuals under 18 can work. So beware of break times and rest periods you are entitled to. The next very important thing is safe working environment. It is actually the responsibility of the employer to provide a safe and healthy environment, not only in terms of providing the proper training, but safe equipment and protection from hazards.
Being aware, most importantly, a very important role will also be played by schools in this, because schools are typically the institutions that can make the teenagers aware, understand of kind of legal aids available to them, what kind of atmosphere, how can they be cautious, what are the red flags that they have to judge before anything bad happens. So thank you so much for the input. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Miss Parikrama Adhikari, who's a grade 9 student from Everest International School, Tokyo, Japan. Parikrama, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Hello everyone, I'm Parikrama Adhikari of grade 9 of Everest International School, Japan. I'm here to give a short speech on the topic teen employment. I believe that teens can make a huge difference in this world, so that's why I chose to speak on this topic. They need the proper guidance, which can lead to the proper mindset of the people. And teens, if you take examples of some of the teens, Mark Zuckerberg, for example, he invented Facebook in his Harvard University. And he initially created that platform to join other students and to create a better website where they could share information. And another one of the successful teen entrepreneurs is Hillary Yip, who created a video sharing platform for teens and kids to learn each other's languages. She came up with this idea in a camp, and she was only 12 when she initiated this website. So I believe that teens have the creativity and the determination to create anything they want in life. And with the proper guidance, they can do anything. But saying this, I also believe that they should not be forced to work. And if they are being forced to work, they should also be focused in their studies, because studies is a huge part of our life, and so is education. And I believe the schools, they provide good education to the students, and they can help to change the mentality of the students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Parikrama. And you're very right when you say the mindset of the individual or the teenager who's getting into employment matters far more than the actual employment or anything that's happening there. The school can really become a critical player when setting that mindset. And we really appreciate Parikrama for joining this web talk, because at this point it's 11 p.m. in the night for Parikrama. So thank you so much. And we really appreciate sincerity and dedication towards, putting your opinion on a global stage. So we've listened to all the speakers, and I would now request that, if you got muted, if there is any important point that you want to add before this conversation comes to an end, if there are any closing statements, let me invite you one by one again for around a minute or so that we can take your closing statements before we move ahead. Professor Kodua, any closing remarks before the session comes to an end?
To say a big thank you, because this is a very important topic, and to emphasize that we all, especially those of us in the educational space, should play a key role by educating the young ones to appreciate the fact that work is good, but work must be rewarded, and they must assess the various performance indicators to see whether it matches their ambitions and aspirations in life before taking it. One other thing they would have to also take into consideration is the learning curve. There are some young people who want to be great overnight, but being great is a long journey. It's got to be taken step by step and also learning from superiors. So a combination of what employers should do in terms of taking care of young ones and ensuring that there's a safe environment. The young ones also have a responsibility to be patient and also learn as much as they can. And together we will have a safer society.
So much, sir. You're very right that, a teenager has to be patient. You cannot become great just in one single day or overnight. It's an open floor right now. If any of the speakers want to add something, if you could just raise your hand and I could invite you next. Otherwise, we'll be going into towards the conclusion of the session. Yes, Mr. Abdulkadir wants to say something. Abdulkadir, sir, over to you for the next 1 minute. Please unmute yourself.
All right. Thank you very much. All protocols duly observed again. I just want to say that it's very, very important that as a teenager, you have the freedom of speech. But the freedom of speech must always be guided by a superior. And that is why in working anywhere, you need to undergo what is called mentorship. You must have a role model. we don't have somebody like Mr. Daksh, of course, we won't be here today. So in your place of work, you must make sure you have a role model. You must have somebody you're looking up to, somebody that is guiding you, that is mentoring you.
Very warm welcome to Ms. Amrita PR, who's a grade 9 student from the Indian Public School, Hyderabad, Telangana. Amrita, over to you for the next 3 minutes and a very warm welcome.
Have you ever stopped to ask, as a teenager starting a new job, what your workplace rights are? Because millions of youngsters across the world work every day, and yet they do not know what rights they are entitled to. And as a wise person once said, ignorance of one's rights always leads to the abuse of power. International bodies such as the ILO or the International Labour Organization and the UNICEF has set some standards that all the countries try to include, but these are not really enforced. Because although the employers know these laws, they ignore it wantedly, and the teens who need them, they are unaware of it. This causes a big gap, which forces teenagers to do hazardous jobs and lead them into overtime exploitation, harassment, and last but not the least, discrimination of any kind. I believe that teens aged 14 and above can work, but that is under safe, supervised environments with decent wages and never at the cost of their education or well-being. Because work should shape them and not break them. To add to that, a good job at the right time can do wonders. It teaches them discipline, confidence, and real-world skills. In places that invest in job training, mentorship, and school-to-work programs, teens aren't just learning. They are not just earning, they are building their future. But still, according to ILO reports, nearly 79 million youth aged 15 to 17 are engaged in child labor. And this is usually in hazardous work environments. And teenagers are more likely to be injured than adults in a work environment because 1 in 5 workplace fatalities affect children below the age of 24. And 50% of the teens report bullying in their workplace. And this is according to the Workplace Bullying Institute, by the way. And 1 in 3 teenage girls report sexual harassment in their workplace. And to make things worse, teenagers are paid less than $1 or $2 per day, making it very, very hard for them to even run a normal livelihood. And this wage does not even come under something called the living wage that the ILO has prescribed, which ensures that they can at least pay for a safe house rent and safe food. And these aren't just numbers. This is the reality of all the teenage workers. And let's not sugarcoat this. Instead, let's face this head on. As a teenager myself, I request all the brothers and sisters across the globe to join hands and to become social citizens, to serve our teenagers, to make sure their workplaces become better, to make sure their workplaces are a hub for growth, development, and progress. To conclude, teen employment shouldn't be a risk. It should be a step forward.
Thank you so much, Amrita. I think that was an apt conclusion to this web talk today, that you have to thrive. Don't let people, really force you into doing anything. This is simply what we believe at the World Teen Parliament as well, where we give teenagers the power to change policy making, to influence how world leaders are really thinking. Currently, the World Teen Parliament is the only platform on the face of the earth where every month global leaders come and teach teenagers. On this Sunday as well at 8 p.m. India time, we have another masterclass by one of the ministers from Ghana. So if you're a teenager who is there on this call, who wants to be a part of those conversations, you can be there. Those conversations are absolutely free. They're funded by the Blub World Foundation. We don't charge anyone anything to be a part of those masterclasses or those sessions. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks. This was the 258th episode. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much, everyone. This was the Blub World Web Talks 258th episode. Thank you. Signing off. Namaste.